So now you're going to practice using a preferred method, whether you're going to do it by hand or by calculator. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster now that we've reviewed the 8th grade. I'm going to introduce you to what you're going to see in 9th grade, but we're going to do this in depth a little bit later on. I just want to make the connection real quick. As I do example 4 on the top of the page, I want you to do example 5 on the bottom of the page. So we're going to look at linear sequences in 9th grade. Which is going to use what you did in 8th grade in order to build upon it. It says, write a sequence and complete 4 representations. So representation just means different ways of looking at the same thing. So you can look at it as a picture, you can look at it as a table, you can look at it as words, you can look at it as an equation, you can look at it as a graph. So there are 4 different representations. Use the shaded squared when you're doing this. So let's go ahead and count the shaded squares. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in figure 1, there are 8 shaded squares. Okay, then it says in figure 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In figure 2, there are 12 shaded squares. And in figure 3, and I'm going to try and count this a little bit faster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so that's 16 in figure 3. All right, so I've filled out the bits that I know. And if you remember from the last video, we talked about, well, how do I fill out the rest of the table? How do I graph it from the table? So these are things that we've done, and we're just going to quickly talk about how do I write it in words, and we've also done how to write an equation. So let's see if you remember, and if you don't, please turn to page 2 and look at the notes. I'm going to go a little bit faster. Top left, we're going to put in a table. Now here's the difference. If I and there's no wrong thing. Click whatever you want to click and see if you can do it. So if I thought it was the gear or the settings and I try to make it a table, you can see the option doesn't exist. So you click something else, click that, or the thing disappeared, put that back. Let's try something else. So table. All right, I'm going to put in what I know. So I know 1, 8. And again, be very careful to type exactly what it says, 1, 12 and 3, 16. All right, I've typed in exactly what I saw. And if you remember from the previous video, you're going to write down our linear function twice. So y equals mx plus b 2 times. You're going to highlight it, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And what are the 2 things that you change? What are the 2 things that you change? So remember, again, you're trying to tell the calculator, hey, from this table, give me an answer for this equation. Well, this table is labeled x1, y1. So, of course, we have to change those labels. So this has to be y1 and this has to be x1. Oh, my gosh, that did not help me. It made things worse. What is the second thing you need to change? Again, please refer back to the previous page for your notes. Perfect. It should be tilde. So you can, again, do shift and then underneath the escape key. Or you could do ABC and right there is tilde. And it's given me an answer. So again, remember, we're checking our answers as we go. So zoom fit to see the points. Did the line go over my points perfectly? It did. So I am doing good so far. All right, now I have some answers. Remember, I have y equals mx plus b already, where m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. So I can go ahead and replace m is equal to 4. And b is also equal to 4. And again, if this was -4, I would put -4. So this is my equation. And look at that. My red line has gone over my blue line perfectly. So therefore, this is my equation. So let's fill in some information that we need. So I need to finish in the table right here. Where does it cross the y-axis? Remember, that's where it crosses this. It's at 0, 4. And we're going to double check that number in just a second using the table function. So actually, in fact, let me do that right now. So again, if I want to make this a table and I try to do that and I do that, then it didn't make that a table. It just gave me a new table. So that's not it. So this is when you hit settings. And again, it's going to take you a second to kind of understand this, and practice makes perfect, of course. So settings, table, there's the table. And the number I'm looking for that I don't have is 15. 2 methods, press enter from the last number as many times until you get 15. But in this case, it might just be type to typing. So 15 is 64. So I have that, and I also have the equation. Now, here's where we're going to move a little bit from middle school into high school. So in middle school, you looked at equations. In high school, we're going to look at functions. So my equation was y equals 4x plus 4. Y equals 4x plus 4. The only difference between an equation and a function is a function replaces the y with f of x. And I'll explain in a different video what that means. But for right now, you just need to know that the y becomes f of x. Everything else stays the same. So f of x is equal to 4x plus 4. So we're no longer going to talk about equations. We are going to talk about functions in high school. All right, so now that I know that, I can go ahead and graph it. All I need is 2 points to graph it. I have this one, which is 0, 4. I have that one, which is 1, 8. So 0, 4, 1, 8. Now, very, very important that I go ahead and mention this right now as just a quick introduction. Okay, you can see that this is a line. You have dots right here, right, that are joined together by a line. But here's what I need you to think, and I'm going to introduce a new word to you. And again, we are going to talk about it in depth. So if you don't get it right now, that's okay. This is just an introduction piece. Okay, so these are my points right here. In fact, let me draw another one. 2, 12. What else is there? 3, 16. So around here. All right. It says graph the points only, don't connect them, and this is why. Notice it says figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. That's my x values. So if I write on my x values figure, on my y value is what I get out of that, which is my number. So I'm going to write number, and I'm going to use a hash for number. You're going to see me doing that a lot. Okay, here's a question I have for you. If I join this line, right, I am saying that, let's say, let's put some numbers here. 0.56 is a point I can have, which, what does it mean in the context of this problem? Remember, x is what? Figure. So can I have figure 0.5? No, because these are physical things. So sometimes in real life, you can't have decimals for certain things. You can't for other things like money. You can have decimals, but you can't have decimals for everything. I cannot have figure 0.5. And so because I cannot have 0.5 as a figure, I cannot join these 2 points. The only figures I can have is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing in between them. By joining the line, I'm saying everything in between is also possible. So this is called a discrete function. So let's go ahead and write this right here. Discrete. That is not how you spell discrete. And again, I'm a math teacher, not English. All right, discrete, it means, we're just going to simplify this. Like, there's an official value, but it says you can't have decimals. Okay, so discrete means you just have dots. You do not connect them. So discrete is do not connect them. So now let's explain what we've done in words. This has all been a review so far. This is the only new thing. It's just explaining in words what you are doing. It says the image starts with blank in figure 0. So the image starts in figure 0, which is possible. I can have nothing, right? In figure 0, it starts with 4 shaded boxes. So the image starts with 4 in figure 0. Then what does it add? Something boxes to each figure. So it starts with 4 in 0, then it adds how many shaded in figure 1, how many shaded in figure 2, how many shaded in figure 3. Well, let's take a look at that. And this is, again, what you've done in middle school, because you've done this by hand in middle school. How do I go from 4 to 8? What am I adding? 4. How do I go from 8 to 12? What am I adding? 4. How do I go from 12 to 16? What am I adding? 4. Well, how do I go from, actually, we're now going to go from 16 to 64, and this is actually a great point to say that, because when I'm going from figure to figure, it's to the next figure. It's not skip 12 figures, okay? So this is where I'm stopping. So every single time I go from one figure to the very next one, not all the way over here, I'm adding 4 boxes. And just so that you know, this is y equals mx plus b. All right, so I just want to, again, point this out. M is your slope, okay, and then plus b is your y-intercept. Now I'm going to add 2 new definitions to this, and we're going to look at these a little bit later. Your y-intercept, and we already know your y-intercept is where x is equal to 0, is your start or your initial value. And that's going to come in a later video. Again, I introduced a lot of things in the beginning. All right, so your y-intercept is where you start. Your slope is, how do I say this? The number, how the number changes each time. Something like that. How the number changes each time. So find a little space. Maybe we'll have to put it on the side here. How it changes each time. Okay, so again, your y-intercept we already knew from previous videos where x is equal to 0. It's where you start, it's your initial value, and your slope is how you're changing each time. So I'm changing by adding 4 from one figure to the next. If you count these boxes, there are 4 more shaded boxes than the last shape. So again, you are completing example 5 and coming to show me for me to check. Now I'm going to introduce some questions that I'm going to be asking you. Today I'm going to tell you the question I'm going to be asking you, but in the future, I will be checking to see if you're listening to the video. If you're listening to the video and you're actively doing the question as I'm asking you to do, you'll be able to answer the question. But I will tell you the checkpoint for this video. This video is I will be asking you to show me your notes, obviously, and then I will ask you why we do not connect these coordinates or these points. Why is it we do not connect these points? So if you've already missed that in the video, what I want you to do is rewind to where we were talking about this area right here and make sure that you listen so that you can answer the question. Let's practice.